Welcome, Robert. How are you doing,
Hey,
man?
I'm doing well. I'm going to kind of adjust my camera here. I'm doing good. Yeah, thank you. Pleasure to be
Yeah.
on the show.
Yeah, it's a pleasure having you. Tell us about yourself, man.
Oh man, I've been a professional actor since the age of 15. That's when I started doing TV commercials and TV shows and movies, and so it's been a long road. A lot of fun stuff. I've done some very cool things over the years. Worked with some amazing people: Bradley Cooper, Clint Eastwood. Think. I mean, Simon Baker. I mean, you name it. I've Kathleen Turner. I've worked with so many amazing people. I'm also the voice or the narrator of Ancient Aliens and the Curse of Oak Island. So I've done probably about 1,000 hours at least of narration for television. Worked with George Lucas on a documentary called Empire of Dreams, and also all about the making of the original 3 Star Wars movies. Then a documentary with him called Legacy. I say Legacy of the Void.
Legacy of the
Legacy. No. It was about the. Oh God! Now I'm drawing a blank. It's too early in the morning.
The Secret of Skywalker Ranch. That one.
No. This was an episode about the mythology. Pardon me, a documentary about the mythology of Star Wars, which was really truly fascinating. Both those shows were nominated for Emmys. Of course, done a lot of video games, but I guess the most famous, of course, is going to be StarCraft, that I originally started working on in, goodness, I think 1997, 98, because I think it came out in 99. And been doing Jim Raynor for, what is that, 24, 5, 6 years, something like that. It's crazy.
Yeah. We're at 26 now. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Been a long time.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yep. I was born 1 year later, and I grew up with that game. So.
Oh my goodness! Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I was.
Well, that explains a lot.
Yeah, I will say, Robert, and those of you watching in the future, I did record. I think it was like half a decade ago at this point. Me and Robert did have a phone call. We did do an interview, and I don't remember much of what I asked or what was in the.
Were you just in awe the entire time? It was just like this.
Yeah.
so wonderful.
It was, and I'll be honest, I still kind of am, but I'm a little better at containing it. But back then, I was like 15 or 14. I don't know if I told you that. I did that with a lot of actors where I talked to them and I tried to make it sound like I was older than I was.
You're 14. You sounded 17, right?
I might have actually been more like 16, 17, but still,
all
yeah.
right.
I can't remember. It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
you're actually very lucky. It's a good thing to forget a lot of the stuff you've done in life, especially when you're a teenager. You want to forget those days.
True. That's true, man. Those were bad days.
Yep.
Even for good old Jimmy.
Oh, they were fun, but yeah, I was I was doing TV and movies and stuff at 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and it was a blast. Working with the people that I worked with and doing those shows, and it's working with other young people at the same time. It's funny because in television, commercials, movies, I've gone everywhere from being that high school kid to then going to college. I remember I did a commercial where I was going with my father to get my driver's license. Then I did commercials and TV shows where I'm married. Then you have kids. It's like my entire life is from all those years is available on some TV show somewhere.
And I saw you had a very broad, like you've done MASH, you've done Columbo, you've done anime like Nausicaa. It's like you kind of touched on a lot of cultural touchstones that now have a big legacy.
Yeah, that episode of Columbo. I think I think people say that's probably the best episode of Columbo. And I played a character. I remember I did it. I think maybe I just turned 18, 17, 18 years old. And then they flew me to South Carolina to shoot it. And working with Patrick McGowan, who, I loved as an actor anyway. I used to watch him on a show called The Prisoner that I absolutely loved when I was growing up. And there's actually, I played a character called the Boodle Boy. And what's funny, it was just a silly little role where I brought him his coffee in the morning and he reprimanded me for not having my shoe shined or something. And there's like a cult following of the Boodle Boy. And that if you haven't seen the episodes, a 2-hour episode, I think it's called By Dawn's Early Light. It's a really, really terrific episode of Columbo.
I love Falk. Columbo, but I'm gonna check that out.
If you haven't seen it, you'll dig it. It takes place at the Citadel, which is a military school in South Carolina, and at that time, at least for the first 150 years, I guess, of its existence, it was an all boys school, and they only recently, in the last 15, 20 years, allowed girls in. But there's the tradition that's there was pretty intense, because here I was, like I said, I was 17, 18 years old. And so I was the age of some of the cadets, and we shot it over the summer. And some of the cadets were not happy with me because first of all, even though my hair was cut really short, it was long for a first-year student. So that ticked them off. There's also this quad. It almost looks like a checkerboard. It's like black and white squares. And if you're a first-year student, you're supposed to walk on the outside of it. I didn't know that, so I just kind of walk across it. And plus, the commandant, lieutenant colonel, whomever it was the technical advisor, and he was showing me, he was sitting there at the set, and I'd go up to him and he'd show me how to salute and how to do like an about face. And we're cutting up and having some fun and laughing. And the cadets were a little bit ticked off about that I was becoming friends with, lieutenant colonel, whatever. Yeah. And so halfway through the shoot, and I was there for a couple of weeks, one of the local hires, one of the grips, one of the drivers comes up to me, says, goes, "Robert," he goes, "if I were you," he goes, I wouldn't walk alone. I said, "Why?" Now, I've never figured out what this means, but I know it meant something bad. He says, "Well, word has it, some of the cadets want to initial you." Now, I don't know what that means. I've asked people that have gone to the Citadel, what does that mean? They either don't know or refuse to tell me. Maybe I misheard it. Maybe it was to initiate me. But whatever it was, I made sure that after that, I always had somebody big walking around with me.
Yeah, I've definitely heard of initiating, maybe not initials. Yeah,
no, it would not have been good. Would not have been good. I know that.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
I don't know what that means either. I'm looking it up right now.
Good luck finding. Believe me, I've looked.
That's funny.
Yeah. So, I mean, before we get into the StarCraft stuff, I am a big sci-fi fan, and I know your work on Empire of Dreams and a lot of the Star Wars stuff.
Oh, good.
So, tell me, do you do you know Lucas? Have you talked to him, or is it?
Oh no, I've never met him. I know that he was certainly involved in the casting. He had to approve me. He would give notes when we would do sessions, and we'd go back in, and he would, we'd obviously address those notes. I actually took a class pretty soon after I did that documentary, and the person that was teaching the class was a close friend of his, because it was about actually the mythology of Star Wars, which is really quite fascinating. The hero's journey was Joseph Campbell, and how the hero's journey is basically the story of Luke Skywalker. And this person was a close friend, so I was able to get at least a note to George Lucas thanking him for hiring, and I did get word back that he was thankful for that. But that's as close as he and I have come. I mean, we are forever entwined on those two documentaries, and I'm forever appreciative of that. And actually, that first documentary, Empire of Dreams, was the first narration job that I ever did. So it was a wonderful way to start. And it was, nominated for an Emmy. Those of you who haven't seen it, it's available, I think, on Disney. It's one of, anytime you look up the top 30, 40 documentaries, it's going to be near the top because it's fantastic.
It's a great one. I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I was about to ask a question, but then I realized that it came out after StarCraft. But it is also on YouTube, by the way, for those of you that want to look it up for free. It is on YouTube for free. However, that's so awesome. I might go check it out after this.
Yeah.
Just to hear Robert talk about Star Wars. But yeah, I was gonna ask you, what did you do anything specifically that got you involved in StarCraft? Like, what role or something like?
Well, it's interesting. StarCraft was actually the first video game that I did, and this was back, I want to say 97, 98, because I think the game came out in either 98 or 99.
98.
And so at that time, okay. All right. So it would have been like 97. So obviously it was in the early days of video gaming. And I didn't have a clue. My experience with video games were, Pong, arcade games and, Pac-Man and that kind of stuff. And a friend of mine worked at Blizzard, and he had told me that they were casting for this video game, and he submitted me to Chris Metzen and the group there, and I actually went down to Blizzard. Now, Blizzard they have it where they have it in Irvine. They call it the campus. I mean, it's an incredible facility. And at that time, in my mind, I don't think this is correct. I imagined that Blizzard was working out of a strip mall. Because I know it's just like a much smaller thing, not as high security. It was, it was more of a startup company. I don't know how many years they'd been in existence, but it wasn't that long. And I met with Chris, and I remember pretty vividly. We sat down, and he had this sketchbook, all these pictures that he had drawn of what he envisioned the universe of StarCraft was going to be like. And one was Jim Raynor on the Vulture bike, and all kinds of different pictures. And then we discussed how to approach the character, and he told me that he envisioned Jim Raynor. He says he's the last honest man in the universe. And so I kind of took that to heart. He wanted to have a little bit of a Southern feel to it. Half of my family is from the South, so that was not a big stretch for me. So I gave it a little bit of either a Texas drawl or Southern drawl, some kind of a little affectation to it. And we went in and recorded it. I can't even remember how many sessions we did, but as an aside, those drawings that Chris showed to me in that sketchbook, they're still there, but they're protected like the Mona Lisa is now. If you go to Blizzard, it's behind, it's in this, argon gas chamber, with bulletproof glass, 3-inch thick or whatever the heck it is, that they're all very protected. But, for me, it was, here it is, just had in my hands. And then, we did it and basically kind of forgot about it after that, because I was completely out of the loop as far as video games were concerned. But it was many years later that I understood, or started to realize, at least the light bulb started to turn on for me to understand how big a game and how impactful StarCraft had become. I was working on a soap opera. It was Young and the Restless. I had been on that show, I don't know, 50, 60 times. I can't remember. I played a judge or something on the show. I played actually many different characters, but primarily a judge. And during one of the days that I was there shooting that soap opera, I overheard a conversation between two of the guys that work on the show, two of the stagehands, and they were talking about StarCraft. And they'd mentioned, just overheard that they worked, and I went, oh, I remembered I worked on that. I remembered the name, and I said, oh, hey, yeah, so you're talking about StarCraft? And they said, yeah. I said, yeah, I worked on that game. They said, really? What did you do? And I couldn't really remember the character's name. I said, his name was Jim Rybick Gruber, and he said Jim Raynor, and I said, yeah, and it was like their jaws dropped, and I could see in their faces that meant something to them. And so I went, maybe I'm missing something here. So I did my research and found out how huge a game it was. And, that's why when StarCraft 2 came to being, I thought, you know what? I want to make sure I experience everything that has to do with StarCraft. I don't want to treat it as a job, move on, and then go, oh, by the way, this is what this meant to so many people.
That's so cool.
Yeah. You hit on 3 questions I had, because I was about to ask, because I know you've mentioned in interviews before that like you didn't even really know until later. So
didn't have a clue. Didn't have a clue. But I'm glad that I found out, and glad that I came back to do all the other versions of StarCraft, because it's been an amazing experience. I've made some incredible friends, got to work with phenomenally talented people. Been to, well, like I showed the bottle here that I'm drinking water out of, BlizzCon many times, and been able to meet fans and interact with them. And I understand how impactful and important the character has been for people in their lives. A lot of them have come up and said they, grew up playing the game, or they played it with their siblings or their father, and it was a bonding experience, or
that was me. Yeah.
Was that you?
Yeah. Well, I was someone who played with. I played with my dad when I was.
I was literally on my dad's lap. Yeah.
It's not unique. That's one of the things that's so wonderful. I see you've got Jimmy behind you there, man. Yes. Look at that. He's looking good.
I also got Jimmy right here.
All right. Yes.
I'm a big collector of StarCraft. I run the wiki, and when you mentioned the thing in the vaults, like, yes, I'm well aware of the concept art, because I've been planning heists of that.
It's pretty impressive to see the originals, and the way that I saw it with Chris like handing it to me was at the time, it was like, oh, this is kind of cool. But looking back, and I realized how fortunate I was to be there when this whole thing was just germinating in somebody's brain, and that the people at Blizzard decided to go with his vision. And I got to tell you, he is an amazingly gifted guy, incredibly personable guy, very. Just a straight shooter, just a really pure individual, and I will always thank him for the gift that he gave me of allowing me to be the voice of Jim Raynor. And I try, when I meet fans, that's why I love doing shows like this. It's important to interact with people, because it means something. I've had a lot of people come up to me, and I remember one person said that they were having a difficult time in their life, and they thought, what would Jimmy do? What would Raynor do? And it would kind of give them a little bit of strength, because he's not a superhero. He's just a guy. He has faults. He has issues. He's maybe not the brightest bulb in the box, but what he is, he's not that he's stupid by any stretch of the imagination. He's honest. He's pure. He's the kind of person you want to have in your corner if you're in trouble. He's going to fight. He's not going to give up. Even if it looks like he's going to give up, he'll somehow do the right thing when he needs to, and doesn't take advantage of people, and is a person that is motivated by the higher self. It's love, it's duty, it's responsibility, it's all the good qualities that we aspire to, and we often never achieve as human beings. And so a lot of people have played that game, and found somehow that inner strength they needed, or that little bit of a push to kind of help them get out of a deep rut. And I take that very, very seriously. And I honor that in people when they come up and share those intimate personal stories. It's impactful. It means a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we both have plenty of those.
Yeah. I know that when I was very young on Facebook, I used to write short stories about Optimus Prime and Jim Raynor having conversations, because those were my Optimus Prime from Transformers, by the way.
Well, it's funny because Neil Kaplan played.
Yeah.
He's in StarCraft as well. So yeah, okay. Neil and I have had those conversations that you should send us the scripts. We do it for you.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I could make a whole YouTube video of them talking. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Subsourian will have to give me the $1,000 action figure. I already got one right here. I'm just kidding. I can use this.
If you don't mind me jumping around the script, a bit.
No worries.
I actually was curious because when you came back for StarCraft 2, but initially they were planning maybe another person. That's how they put out like a more southern. But there was a huge fan outcry of like, no, we want Robert back. Did you ever experience that, or did you? Were you kind of unaware?
I planned it all. I called in all the chips I could. Right. No, it was. It goes back to when I understood how impactful StarCraft was, and then I knew that they started to do, or were planning on doing, a StarCraft 2, and I wanted to be involved. B, I really wanted to experience it. I felt that I'd missed out on a wonderful opportunity to experience something quite special, and meaning interacting with the fans and being part of this wonderful creative process at a deeper level. And so I really wanted to do it again. I also thought that, God, how many years had it been since we did the original StarCraft? It was at least, roughly 10 years?
I think 11.
Maybe, okay, 10, 11, whatever it was. And I felt that I was a better actor. I felt that I had matured. I felt that I had a deeper understanding just from my own personal life experience as to that I could bring to the table in doing Jim Raynor. And my agent submitted me, and the word came back, sorry, we're moving on. Here's your gold watch, metaphorically. We're moving on, and thank you for your service. And to her credit, her name is Becky Dodd. Her credit, she never gave up. She was a big fan of StarCraft as well. And whenever they would, when they send out these submissions, it goes to all the different agencies, not just in LA, but all over the country, sometimes even outside of the United States. So everybody is open to audition for it. So they're getting, they, meaning Blizzard, is getting tons of submissions. And to her credit, she kept pushing. And then I saw that there started to be a bit of a groundswell on the internet, like what you were talking about, that people really wanted to have both me and Glynis come back as Raynor and Kerrigan. And there was still a little bit of a pushback, but then eventually Blizzard agreed to give me a shot. And that was all that I wanted. I said, just let me come in and give it a shot. Let me just audition. If you don't like it, you don't like it. If you want to move on, that's fine. But give me an opportunity to show you what I can do. And to their great credit, they did. They set up a recording session for me in LA, and Chris was there. Some of the top execs at Blizzard were there, and the voice director, Andrea Romano, who is probably one of the best voice directors ever, multi-Emmy Award winner. She was the tons of cartoon shows, video games. I mean, she's absolutely wonderful. And I went in and did my thing, and thanked Chris, thanked everybody for giving me the opportunity. And then I guess either I want to say later that day or very soon after, I got the call that you got the gig. And when I spoke to Chris afterwards, he told me, he said, because StarCraft 1 was so incredibly successful and the budget was such that, Blizzard was going to invest a lot of money into StarCraft 2. They had the ability to hire anyone they wanted. They could match whatever anybody's rate was going to be. So they had submissions from, and I haven't asked, some pretty significant celebrities. And but what Chris told me, he goes, it's kind of like when you go on a journey, you leave your hometown and you kind of see the world, and then you realize everything that you wanted was right where you first started out at.
Yeah.
And he goes, we had to take on this long journey to realize that what we wanted was right here. And it says, when you left the booth, when you left that room, he says, we all turned to one another and says, Jim Raynor was here. And I get a little bit emotional because I'm a sensitive person, but it was a really wonderful thing, because it wasn't the internet pressure that got me the job. It wasn't some outside force that they felt compelled to. They had to, political reason, whatever the heck it was. It wasn't that at all. It was, they felt that I was the best person for that particular job. And as an actor, that's the way you want to be hired. You want to be hired because you're the best. And that day, my uncle, my uncle was an Olympic diving champion, and he was a very humble guy. And I would ask him what it was like to be the best in the entire world. And he said, because he was a gold medalist, and he goes, I was the best that day. And so for that, I thought I was the best that day. The stars were aligned. It all worked out, and it turned out to be an amazingly wonderful experience. The role of Jim Raynor, the way that it was written, the relationship with Kerrigan, the relationship with Mengsk, and all the other characters are just so rich. And it was such as an actor, it's just one of those, oh my God, it's like having the best meal you could possibly imagine, where everything is there, everything you could possibly want. It had the great arc of a story. It had him going from the depths of depression to the highest highs, to falling in love, losing his love, trying to kill his love, and then saving his love. And people ask me what my favorite line of StarCraft 2 is, and it's a very, very simple line. And first of all, I'll set it up for you just a moment, is that normally when you go and do these video games, you do them in isolation. You don't really do them with a lot of other actors. But Blizzard, to their credit, they brought us all in to kind of read through it a bit, so we kind of get to know each other, get to know how people are going to perform particular roles. And this one scene, the scene where I save Sarah, they brought in Trish Helfer, who is a phenomenal actress, incredibly gifted. I think she did a wonderful job as Sarah Kerrigan. And it's the scene where, right after I shoot Tychus. Now, Neil and I have different opinions as to what that scene meant.
We'll definitely ask about that one.
We'll ask about that.
Because it's interesting, because it kind of gives you an interesting glimpse as to how actors can have different perspectives, but it still works out to be exactly perfect for the scene, which is spot on. And
I'm sure the two characters had very different thoughts in that scene.
Oh yeah.
So
And it's where I'm carrying her out, and she like looks at me and goes, Jim, and I say, it's all right. I got you.
I got you. Yep.
I got you. To me, that was so beautifully written, because it's the tendency when you write these scripts is to overwrite, to have a big freaking monologue about everything where you try to explain everything that's going on. And this one, they just allowed the simplicity of she being incredibly vulnerable. I think it was a wonderful choice that she was naked, because it epitomizes the vulnerability that she was in at that moment. And like a newborn child. In fact, essentially she was a newborn child at that. She transitioned, and Jim was able to save her, and he had everything he ever wanted in life was in his arms at that moment. And he was at a loss for words, and it was just a beautiful moment. And then I love the way they shot it with the beautiful scene behind us with, I think there's like stars flying across. I mean, it was just beautifully done. So that was my favorite scene in the movie. I love it. I call it a movie because it is
that's
a feature film quality. People were saying, why don't they make this into a film? I wish they would consider that, because that would be great.
Yeah, would you ever act in a movie or a TV show if they ever made one of StarCraft, or do you think you're getting a bit too old for that?
Wait a minute.
Oh, geez, wait a second.
Wait a minute. I'm gonna go do some like Jack Palance of the Oscar. I'm gonna do some sit-ups for you. Let you know that I'm still in great shape.
I knew you would do that. That's why I asked it.
I'm gonna tell you. The thing is, if they're doing an animated version of it, I think that I could certainly be the voice of Jim Raynor. I mean, there's no issue there. Jimmy's still a part of me. It's still there. It's not hard to pull it off. You're lucky if you're nice to me, you might hear a little bit of Jimmy in this interview. But on camera, I don't think they're going to hire me as Jim Raynor. They it's funny, because when I do interviews, I say, there's a real cognitive disconnect when you see that poster of Jim Raynor behind you and you see me, because I'm in so much better shape than him. It's obvious that he's such a wimp compared to me.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true,
Well, and actually,
you've actually been through shit. He's been through I made up shit.
That's right. He'd be nothing without me. He'd be nothing.
But I think I remember in other interviews, you're a master of Kung Fu Sanfu.
Sansu, yeah.
Sansu, sorry,
I studied that for like 20 some odd years. So yeah.
Jeez,
that's really
that's
cool.
impressive.
I was joking, by the way. I hope I didn't actually consider anything. But my follow-up question was kind of like, if they ever make like another StarCraft game or anything, like, would you come back if they bring back Jim Raynor somehow, or?
Of course, yeah. The answer to that is yes. Unfortunately, couldn't do it. If they wanted me to come in next week, I wouldn't be able to do it because we're on strike. But
oh right, yeah.
But
that's right.
Absolutely kidding me.
Hope the best for you all, because
how many strikes a year do you voice actors have to go through? God damn.
I don't know.
Don't people just pay you right? Jeez.
Well, it's. I think that obviously they're going to come to an agreement. It's the business is challenged. Business always kind of gets in the way of creativity. You've got people that want to do creative work together, and then you've got the people that are the running the corporations and say, well, we have a bottom line here. We want to make sure that we're making the money that we need to make. And I think also in video gaming, I mean, I've noticed this, there has been a evolution in the mindset. It started out, and understandably so, when you're working on a video game, you're working for a big company, you're putting a lot of hours in, and you're not getting huge financial rewards for that. I mean, you're getting a paycheck, everybody's happy, they're working on what they want to work on. But then you have the voice actors come in at the 11th hour. We basically come in once everything is pretty much finished, do our thing, and then we get all this attention because the guy that drew Jim Raynor doesn't get as much of focus and attention as the guy that does the voice of Jim Raynor. Just the way that it is, people are, people meaning the consumers, they connect with that character, and
that's how humans work. Yeah, they connect with the voice. They say that
and
the first voice that people hear.
Yeah, so I think there's been an evolution where at first there was like a little bit of resistance, like, hey, listen, you guys come in at the last minute, and we've been working on this thing for years, please. So there's a little bit, and plus there's the financial upside if you have a game that's doing extremely well is, I mean, it's huge, and it's a revenue source that goes on for years and years and years and years. I mean, it's crazy. So the potential, not every video game does that well. Most kind of come and go and disappear. The number of StarCrafts that come out that last for 20 some odd years is really, really rare. So there's a little bit of a resistance to, especially when it comes to residuals, which is something the actors have wanted. They want a piece of the action because actors are greedy. We all want more. Everybody wants more, and it comes down to, okay, let's try to figure out a compromise where the actors get a little something. The people that are creating the game, they make sure that their ROI is protected, and the bottom line is the collaboration. I think the big issue right now actually is the AI issue. The actors are very anxious, and rightfully so, that somebody's going to be able to just replicate their voice, and who needs you anymore? We've got an AI that can do Jim Raynor. Do good, he'll do a good impression. Maybe he won't do exactly what you're doing, Robert, but at least we don't have to pay this AI. So I understand the fear. I mean, as a voice actor, I'm certainly conscious of the risks that AI pose. And in my major concern is that AI gets good enough to where the audience doesn't care. I don't have a lot of faith in when you turn on a television show and it's just basically background fodder. It's just something. It's white noise essentially. Do you really care if the script was written by a computer or a human being? Are you going to be able to tell the difference? Are you that critically in tune with it that you're going to be able to detect the nuance of it? Maybe not, and if enough people don't care, then the market will say, well, we'll keep, it's good enough. And I hope that people out there are not going to compromise and go, well, it's good enough. I think people want, certainly on the creative side, you want to do your best. You want to do something that's different. You want to do something that kind of moves the needle forward a bit, as opposed to just something that is meaningless. And we all know when we get on the phone and we're put on hold and it's an AI voice that's talking to you, it's incredibly irritating, because you're not speaking to a human being. And even though it asks you, it says please, or say thank you, or would you, whatever it tries to do all the stuff that a human being would do, but it's not. And I hope that we as people just demand a little bit more. And if we do, then everybody's going to be, I think, happy. There's enough money to go around for everybody to continue to be creative and do what they need to do. And listen, these things it's not cheap to do this stuff, man. It's expensive, and it takes a lot of time. And the actors that do it, all the actors that I know, especially in voiceover, they're incredibly talented and incredibly gifted. I mean, it's true talent. I've worked with people, who have starred in Broadway plays on a looping stage. I know voice actors have gone to, Yale Drama School, whereas I know on-camera actors who haven't done squat, because you don't have to. If you've got if you look okay, you're handsome or you're pretty, they'll find a place for you and you'll be able to work and do some stuff. It's not as critically important that you be really, really good at what you do. And the voice actor is wonderful thing about it is you're not restricted by what you look like. I joke about, that I'm in such better shape than Jim Raynor. I don't look like Jim Raynor, but I sure as hell sound like him. And I certainly understand where he's coming from. And I certainly can give you that nuance and that point of view that, and I can kick some ass like Jim's going to. I can do that vocally. Absolutely. 100% every single time. On camera, hey, listen, I got a bad shoulder. Okay. Sometimes it's tough to get out of a chair, but
I will say,
I'm like 25.
Yeah. If I was wearing that suit, man, I'd be sweating. Are you kidding me? I'd lose 10 pounds.
Yeah.
Just walking around.
I will say there has been attempts of my community to let's make a Jim Raynor AI, and I think your job's secure for a while. Even for maps, we're like, let's just get a cameo for Robert. I think that's much better.
Yeah, also you've got an AI is only as good as you program it, and if you're just and this is not an insult to programmers, but I don't think they don't have an actor's mind. There's I've worked with a lot of actors, and the ability to access your emotions, to be able to be free creatively, to have studied and be able to bring your technique to where you need it in either a recording session or in a play or in a movie or a TV show takes a lot of work to get there. I mean, there's some people that are naturally gifted. I don't think Leonardo DiCaprio, from what I hear, has ever been in an acting class in his life, but he also started when he was a kid.
Yes, he had real world
experience. That's really important. I think one of the great things, lucky things for me, is that I started as a kid, because I was encouraged at 15 years old to let that creative freedom out. I wasn't being criticized. I didn't have that voice in my head that was critically looking at everything I'm doing and going, "Oh, this is right, this is wrong." I was able to just be free. So Leonardo DiCaprio he's able to be in the moment, man. He's been doing it since he was, 8, 9, 10 years old. I'm good friends with Bill Mumy, who was, probably one of the greatest child actors of all time. Have you ever seen the Twilight Zone with where putting people in the cornfield, Lost in Space? He's Will Robinson. Yep. I mean, he was phenomenal as a kid. He's still good. Because there's something about that. So the programmer, I think, is going to have a difficult time understanding or figuring out the nuance, because you're just putting in code. I want him to be angry. What level of anger? Let's give him a 3.
Put a 3.
Okay. Yeah. What's the motivation for him to go from a 0 to 3? And does it make sense? Maybe it's more interesting if he doesn't get angry at that moment.
Yep.
Try. Only an actor would be able to say, what? It'd be more impactful if I just don't say anything. Like, I know that Harrison Ford is famous for eliminating monologues from movies. He was doing, I think it was Air Force One or something, and it was a 2-page monologue, whatever the heck it was, and he's told the director, "I can do this with just a look, and I can convey everything you want in this monologue just in a look." And they went, "Okay, now who's going to do what programmer is going to be able to do that?" Maybe there's somebody out there that's really talented can do it, but my fear is that it would be kind of cookie cutter.
Yeah, you can replicate it all you want. It's not going to be authentic.
That's right.
And that's
Oh, by the way, I am what you're speaking to right now is completely AI.
Yeah, an AI image of us.
I'm not really
We're
here.
all AI.
This is, yeah, this is. Yeah, I'm wearing the suit. This is a motion capture thing I've got going here. It's
Yeah.
I actually did want to, and when I brought the Kong fan too, did you do any of the motion capture for StarCraft at all, or really any kind of those animated? Yeah,
well,
I know they've done it.
I've done motion capture. Yeah. I've done motion capture most recently, I guess, on the Last of Us Part 2.
Okay.
So which is in that working with Neil Druckmann on that was another amazing experience, because shooting that, and I do like doing motion capture, because it's like doing a play. It's like doing a TV show. It's, you're actually interacting with other actors. I know it looks kind of ridiculous because you're wearing a helmet that's got a camera on it, and you're wearing a form-fitting suit that so if you've got like some love handles or something that you don't want to see, it's there for the world to see, but you're able to do a scene, you're able to interact, you're able to touch other actors and work out the beats. And it's so I love motion capture. I think it's great.
I've hogged the spotlight, Mark. If you want to get a question in,
it's okay. It's okay.
We're just having a free flowing conversation here.
Yeah,
this is good.
Yeah. I like it. I do want to ask, what?
Oh, I think we lost.
Oh my God!
I think we lost Mark.
The AI got him.
The AI got him. We criticized him too much.
That's right. He decided to commit podcast suicide.
Yep. There we go. Okay.
Oh my goodness!
We're
resurrected.
The AI got you.
I come back.
It's in the hero's journey. Joseph Campbell. The hero has to come close to death. He has to be reborn. That's very important. So that's what just happened with you.
Yeah, the arc of
the mastery has been passed. So what inspired you to do Jim Raynor and his voice specifically, like his? I guess you kind of already answered that.
Well, it's a collaborative process. It wasn't like I went in and said, okay, Chris, this is the way it's going to be. I mean, we talked about the world of StarCraft first, told me the story of StarCraft, and actually, the lore of StarCraft is really very interesting. I mean, one of the things that was fascinating to me when Chris and I talked about it was the prehistory of Jim Raynor, and it helps you understand his motivation. I mean, he was married before,
had a kid,
and lost them both. And he lost his son to what was it, I want to say the collective, the hive, whatever the heck it is.
The ghost program, yeah.
And so you think about that, and he because he was just basically a farmer. He was, he just was living his life with his family, and I keep going back to Joseph Campbell because this is one of the reasons why StarCraft works so perfectly well, because it hits all the freaking beats that are important. That if you think about mythology, think about the stories that have been told and the type of story that resonates with human beings, and there's a commonality in all these stories. That's why I think Ancient Aliens is such a popular show and has been so popular for, goodness, 20 seasons now, 250, 60 episodes. I mean, it's insane, but it touches on that. It deals with the story. And one of the elements that's really important is the hero is, and Jim Raynor would be this, the reluctant hero, the guy that doesn't want to be a hero. The guy that's happy, and you have to show essentially their normal world, the normal life, how they're living. It's like in Star Wars, you see Luke just living with his I guess adoptive parents, just on the family farm, on the planet. He's kind of bored, he's kind of anxious, but that's his normal world. That's why when the transition happens, it's so dramatic. And with Jimmy, I understood where he was coming from. I understood the basis for why he was motivated to do what he was doing. Part of it is revenge. Part of it is this deep loss, trying to somehow make sense of why these things happened. And when he loses Kerrigan, he finally is able to connect with somebody on a deep level. I mean, this is the first time that because he's had tons of opportunities to be with other people, and even had women throw themselves at him, so to speak. Not to say that he never, decided to partake, but he wasn't giving his heart. And with Sarah, he gave his heart, and then once again, that's taken away from it. And even worse, it's not like he's not. If she had died, then he would just have to deal with that. Thing is, it was worse than death. She was transitioned into something that was incredibly evil. Now he's forced to combat that by combating it in it. What he wants to do, it in his heart, he wants to freaking save her. He's going to do everything he can to save her. If he can do that, then he can somehow come to terms with the loss that he's had in the past. And so when you talk about how he came up with the voice is just the icing on the cake. The first you need to do is understand who this guy is, why he's doing what he's doing, what motivates him. And that's why when he's drinking, instead of just a drunk, you can see that he's a guy that's in pain. We've all been in pain. That's one of the things that's wonderful about the character, is that as human beings, we can identify with Jim Raynor because we've been there. Maybe not at that level, but we've all been in those tough spots. We've all been that place where you just want to be left alone. Just I'll just do slow suicide here through the bottle.
At the bottom of the bottle.
Because life sucks. And then somehow you've got to be able to pull yourself out of it. And he's got the courage and he's got the strength to do that.
Something I wanted to pull on that you mentioned as a tiny detail, because the wife and kids plot was something that us as fans only saw in the book. Was that something from day one when you talked to Metzen? That was something that was planned out. He had lost his wife and kid, or was that something that came along?
It's like I remember. I don't know if it was from day one, but I remember. Over the time we've talked about this in great detail, where he's talked about these things, and Chris has even said, I would love to. He would love to do a story about Tychus and Raynor with the Raiders. Tell that story. Because a lot of this stuff is talked about in some of the books and alluded to and kind of touched on a tiny bit, but those are wonderful things. There's so much richness to the story. That's why when all you need to do is talk to him for 15 minutes, he starts telling you about how he sees it, because Chris sees it all. I mean, it's not like he's just got this narrow focus and this is what we're doing. He sees everything that's happening. That's why I think the characters are so rich, because each one of them has this amazing backstory that whether you see it or not in the actual gameplay, in the the cutscenes that actually make it into the game or not, or it's almost doesn't matter, because you're bringing all that richness to the performance. When I first started, when I did StarCraft 2 and working with Andrea Romano, and we did the first session, I went to her and I said, Andrea, I want you to keep me honest. For me, that was my most important thing, because when you go in and do these sessions, like I said, you're oftentimes by yourself. It's just you. And it's funny when you go into a session, they give you the script and usually has a line count. It'll be this character 75 lines, this character 38 lines. On when I first started working on Jim Raynor, under the line count it just said a lot. It just said a lot. And what happens is you don't see the entire script. You don't get if you were to look at the entire script, it would be like, I don't know, it'd be like this huge encyclopedia of stuff, because there's so much stuff that's going on.
There's a lot.
It's a lot, and it's not written like a normal movie script would be. It's like, here's all the scenes for this, here's all the scenes for that. I mean, it's massive, and you have to trust the writers and the director who know the whole story to be able to guide you a little bit. And I used an example. I said, for example, let's say you go and you get the line, and let's say the line is "Happy Birthday," and they want you to do 3 in a row. Now, it could be, "Hey, it's a good day, happy birthday," right? Or it could be, you've put an explosive in the cake, happy birthday. Or it's like, or you take the cake and you shove it in their face, happy birthday, right? There's so many different ways you can do it out of context. And basically what they have you do is they don't always give you the direction for each and every line, because some of the stuff you don't need to, and so you give them 3 variations that you think cover the bases. And they'll go, "Oh, by the way, Robert, just so you know, Jim Raynor he really hates birthdays, so it's like he's reluctant." It's like, "Oh, okay." So
get the context.
Happy birthday, so you do it like that. Okay. Just you give a little bit of context. So it's challenging in that regard.
Yeah, and I guess going on direction, we can lead into, like, is there a difference in voice acting a lot of those more dynamic scenes where Raynor's running around punching stuff, or the scenes in game where they're basically like we are now, just a talking head and a portrait going, explaining something to you?
Yeah, I mean, I call them the "they went that away" scenes.
Yes.
I've had quite a few of those roles. What I mean is, like, the posse runs up to rides up to a farmer in a field, and they say, "Which way they go?"
That away.
They went that way. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's the role.
Yep.
So there are some of those where you're just kind of given information, like he's, because there's a bit of that, especially in the gameplay, where you're telling the person, you need to hustle up, or get a move on, or whatever it might be. There are scenes where you're having a conversation with somebody, and it's with those scenes, it's important to know the context and what the purpose is, what's happening here. Sometimes, if the other actor that you're in the scene with has already recorded, you'll get their playback to play against. And so in that situation, you may have in your mind thought, "Well, I'm going to play the scene this way," and then all of a sudden you hear the actor going that you're playing opposite, go in a completely different direction, and you realize, "Oh shit, I've got to, I got to make this work." Otherwise, it sounds like I'm not paying any attention to the person at all. Which gets me back to this story about Neil and I. I'll tell you that, because in that scene, Tychus says, he goes, "What do you say? It's a damn shame.
Made a deal with the devil, Jimmy.
Made a deal with the devil, Jimmy." And I say, what did I say? I say, we all got our choices to make, right? We all got our choices to make. And as I'm saying that, I'm kind of unbuckling the holster to pull the gun that's got the one bullet that I was saving for Mensk, right?
Mm-hmm.
The one bullet, and I shoot Neil. I looked. My perspective was, I was quicker on the draw. I was smarter in that. I knew it was something I had to do. He's my best friend, but he's about to. I have a choice. I mean, that's why I'm saying, to myself, even, we all got our choices to make. These are those impactful moments where you've got to go one direction or the other. You can't vacillate. You can't kind of be in the middle. You've got to make a choice. He made a choice. Now I've got to make a choice. it's a choice I would prefer not to have had, but okay. So I move in the way to protect her and turn around and I kill him. Now Neil, he says, goes, from my point of view, he goes, because I didn't want to shoot you. I didn't want to shoot her. He goes, I gave you the opportunity. He goes, I was willing to sacrifice myself in that moment because, so I had the beat on it. I could have done it. Why didn't I? Well, obviously, for me, I didn't want to, and this was the out. I'll let my friend kill me. Better to die at the hands of somebody I love than somebody that I don't. And that's a excellent choice. And I told him, I said, no, you were just slow.
Raynor's the fastest.
You're just salty, and I didn't get it first.
Yeah, you didn't get the draw on me. No fucking way. So
and it's cool because there's the ambiguity because he does shoot and gets you in the shoulder.
But
did he miss?
It could have been a reflex. You never know.
Yeah.
So he moved, and then he shot, and then he shot back.
But what's great is it gives you that that debate, and that's what I'm saying. Two actors coming at from slightly different places, but we knew what we had to do because it was written. He's got to take the shot. I've got to shoot him. So how we get there? I wasn't thinking in my mind, oh, he doesn't want to die, or he wants me to kill him. He's giving me an opportunity. It's like no, dude, you're gone. You're toast.
I think I actually said this to Subsourian because we were talking about this exact thing earlier before you even got on. But I think it's very clear. It's I think it's the two characters. I think if you ask them in that moment what they're thinking, they're both thinking the same thing you two are thinking.
Yeah.
I think like it feels like Jim is like, what, he's suicidal now? I don't give a fuck. He's dead. He's I'm gonna kill him now. And then Tiger's probably like, I don't want to live like this anymore. And I'm not trying to make a joke out of it, but like what I'm saying is like I think the characters agree with the actors here. I think they both fuck. I'm right out of.
Well, what I think is that Neil and I
perspectives.
Neil and I were so committed to that character and that point of view and what was happening at that moment that it just added to the scene because he and I, if we talk about it, we still will react the same way. I'm not going to go, oh yeah, I can see. I'm like, no, dude, no.
And I guess another question on that scene, though I know you mentioned voice actors come in very late in the process, so I don't know whether you were in at the time, but apparently Tychus underwent a pretty big rewrite that was spurred when people all the testing was like, wow, Neil's really good and we want more of this character. So he went from more evil to like a more sympathetic buddy of Jimmy. Were you around for that process, or did you?
Because I remember Chris talking about it when I first heard Neil, and I didn't know him before we worked on it. When he first played a little bit of what he did, he said he's got this kind of what it was like a New Orleans kind of a Louisiana kind of a drawl to him. And I went, wow, okay, that's good. That's really good. So, and it makes sense because oftentimes in the creative process, this is another reason why AI is going to hopefully ultimately fail, is that they did not anticipate what Neil was going to bring to the role. Yeah. Because how can you? I mean, I see that in specs. We're looking for somebody that's going to knock us off our feet, blow us away with their performance. You go, okay, the reason for that is because, you don't have anything there. So you're looking for an actor to bail you out. But I think with Neil, I mean, they had an idea of what this character was going to be. And all of a sudden they heard Neil's interpretation and they realized, oh my goodness, we can take this into so many different directions. Oh my good. Oh, let's and they just decide to expand on the character. It happens in actors on TV shows, or it starts out as a minor character. The next thing you know, they're one of the regulars.
Yep.
Because they're just what they're bringing is just so special and so unique. It's something you couldn't have planned on. I hope to think, like to think that maybe I did that a little bit with Raynor. I'm not sure, because I think his character was pretty well established and developed in Chris's mind. It was just a matter of finding the right person that understood that, appreciated that, and was able to kind of manifest that in a way that Chris was happy.
Yeah, well, that was actually one of our questions. Was, do you think you had any say in? Was there a moment in StarCraft 1 or 2 where they had you say something or anything with Raynor, and you're like, Raynor wouldn't do that? Did you have any
actually, yeah. There's a lot. It got to the point. It's not in StarCraft 1 so much, but in StarCraft 2, where we called them, I think we called them Raynorisms, or where sometimes I would, they'd have an idea and I just kind of expand on it a little bit or add something. Or there's also the way that I work as an actor is, let's say the line is, get ready, or like, what's one of the lines was, tell me right now why I shouldn't tell me why I shouldn't kill you right now. Like when I talk to Valerian, to Junior, and
to Junior, yep.
It's like, sometimes it's challenging to just say the line, tell me right now why I shouldn't kill you right now. It's like, because you want to start out really hot, really in the moment. And so I'll say something like, turn around, motherfucker. Tell me why I shouldn't kill you right now. Right? I'll add that ahead, knowing that they're not going to use it, but it helps me to kind of start out that line with some great intention. And so there's a lot of, unfortunately or fortunately, whatever it is, there's a lot of curse words that are associated with that. So there is a file filled with Jim Raynor cursing.
That's fun.
Hopefully won't see the light of day. But yeah, we would change things around, especially if it was, I'm not gonna be able to think of anything specifically, but especially if it had like a Southern kind of a feel to it. It's a lot of times people that haven't lived in the South, don't know Southern people, don't really understand. It's not just an accent. It's a point of view.
It's a personality, and
it's
I'm
like
in the
it's
South.
like,
So.
it's okay. I joke. Oh, you'll understand then. When I say this, like, how, you can't get there from here.
Yep.
You see, you'll hear that a lot, and you go, "What does that mean?" Well, it means I'm not going to help you. You're on your own. But there's a and a lot of people think that if you're from the South, you're just dumb. Wrong. There's this wisdom. There's this simplicity. There's this. They're looking at you. They're judging you. They're figuring you out. While you're underestimating them. It's so okay. So
it's kind of key to Jimmy too.
So a lot of that I would add to. I'd look at it and let me throw in this. Let me add a little something. I do the line as written. I say, can I change this a little bit and do a little something? I got an idea, and they would always say yes. One of the nice things about working for Blizzard is that when we were working on StarCraft specifically, is that there was no time frame on when we had to get this stuff done. They would always say the game is going to come out when it's ready. You'd ask them, when's the release?
When it's done.
When it's done.
And they would keep pushing things back. They think it was done. They go, no, we got another idea. We need you to come in and do some more stuff, or we're changing this around or that around, whatever it might be.
So semi-related, but kind of a pivot. You mentioned that you didn't really have much contact between StarCraft 1 and StarCraft 2 with Blizzard. Did you? So there's some interviews that mentioned that you made a comeback for a game called Ghost, which was legendary, got a very legendary status now because it never came out. Did they call you back in for Ghost, or was that?
Oh, I to be honest with you, I cannot remember because we've done quite a few things. It's a I can't imagine. Okay. Yeah, it's like I know I would love to be the guy that puts the rumors to rest and say, oh well, yeah, I was there and this is what happened, to give you the whole story.
Yep.
It would be I really don't know. I'd have to ask some of the Blizzard people what happened with that.
Yeah, more wondering about your role, because it was a game that had nothing to do with Jimmy, and then there's mentions like, oh, we brought in Jim Raynor to the studio. It's like, oh, interesting.
Maybe. Well, who knows?
Yeah.
There's always stuff going on that's behind the scenes that are protected by NDA. So
yes,
we don't know.
I figured this was like 20 years ago, so that's the only reason I asked, because NDAs are. But also, if you don't remember,
have you ever done any other voices besides Jim in StarCraft at all, like unit voices?
Let me think. If I did, it was something that was so friggin' minor that nobody would pay attention to it. I'm so identified with Jim Raynor that I don't know that they even want me to be in any of their other games. It's it's kind of like they hold you in reserve for just that special thing, and that's fine, because Raynor is such an impactful character. When you go to BlizzCons and you see that giant model of him, that statue,
I've seen it. I have pictures with it.
Oh my goodness! Wow, that's pretty intense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
with the very realistic looking hair.
Oh yeah. There's even a guy that I went to one convention. He was walking around in the whole outfit, and he said, "Listen, if you want, you can come down and you can wear it. You can get in and walk around in it."
Oh, I've seen how they walk in those. I don't know.
Yeah.
The anatomy of the StarCraft.
What's interesting when you go to those like BlizzCons, you don't see a lot of people that dress up as Jim Raynor. I guess it's
it's also to do it accurately, the shoulders have to go out of your neck essentially.
Yeah, and I think physically, even if you're just doing him when he's not wearing that outfit, you got to be in pretty phenomenal shape. I know there's one guy at Blizzard, Renee Cotter, Kottr, I believe.
Yes.
Oh, you know Renee? Okay, yeah. He's dressed up as Raynor, but he's in Renee's in phenomenal shape. He's like a power lifter and stuff. He's really strong. Also, and he's a good guy, and a really good guy. We kind of bonded at the first BlizzCon when they introduced us on stage. That was a real thrill with Trish and Dave Fenoy and
was that the one with Fred?
Fred Tatasciore was there. Yeah, Freddie. Fred's a good guy, man. He's like the official Samuel L. Jackson. If Samuel L. Jackson cannot do a particular job or doesn't want to, he basically does it.
Oh, I never.
And he's done. Oh my goodness! I wish you could hear some of this. And he does this at conventions. He'll do. What is he? Is he play Zeratul? I'm trying to. No.
Zeratul and Swan. Yeah.
Yeah. Zeratul, and he'll do Zeratul as Samuel L. Jackson. He'll go the Zelnaga.
Oh God! I wish I could get those.
Oh, it's so good. Really so good.
I don't know how much you know about the community around StarCraft, but there's a lot of people who make campaigns and maps, and they'll cut lines from your game and to make them say things. So you with all those swearing lines, that these would be, and Samuel L. Jackson, Zeratul would be like, people would have a field day with those.
Oh my goodness. The Zelnaga.
That's beautiful.
I love that. See, Zeratul is such a serious character.
How could an AI ever do what Fred Tatasciore does? impossible. There's no
everything.
way. You'd have to be the most insane programmer to come up with that. You have to be like the Dr. Frankenstein of programmers to come up with some weird, crazy creature that I mean, he's so good. He's and such a sweet guy. He's so humble. I mean, he's so talented, so humble, and if you see him, he'll tell you how wonderful you are. You go, Fred, please. I'm like, please, Fred. No. You've got the gift.
And he's, like I said, he is everything. That man has an IMDb page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to get in contact with him, but fucking hell, I don't know how I would ever do that. But he's such a big actor. I think he's one of the biggest actors in StarCraft games.
Oh yeah, and he just Blizzard just plugs him into everything. Along with what's his name? It doesn't matter. I'm drawing a blank. It'll come. D. Bradley Baker. He's everything. I mean, this guy is, D is just. Where does that talent come from? I mean,
you've seen Bad Batch, right? Where he does like all the main characters.
Oh, it's insane. I mean, and I'm good friends with Corey Burton, who does everything. Do you ever see? Corey Burton is just a little guy. I mean, he's I want to say he's like 5'5", 5'6", just a little drink of water. He's just not a big guy, and he's the voice of Captain Hook. It's like Emperor Palpatine. He's like, oh my god.
Yeah.
You ever see what was it? A Rodriguez film, Machete.
Yes, I have.
He does the ad for Machete.
Really? Oh, I didn't know.
That's
Corey. That's Corey.
Wow.
Corey's another one I'd love to talk to. Oh my god, yeah, he does a lot of voices. He does voices in Kingdom Hearts, and I was actually gonna bring that up because I wanted to know. You're credited as additional voices for Kingdom Hearts 2.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that? Who did you voice?
It's hard for me to remember that because he bringing him in. When you're doing multiple voices like that, I mean, and they can hire you, I think, to do 3 voices for the same rate. And if you do more than that, then they have to pay you a little bit more. And so, obviously it wasn't one of the major characters. You go in there and just, okay, you're elf number 6. Okay. You do your thing. And now you're this guy, that guy. So you do all kinds of different stuff. So I wouldn't be able to remember specifically what character I played. If I listened to it, I'd go, oh, that's me.
I can send you like a cutscene or 2 if you'd like, and you can watch it over later and tell me. But yeah, like I remember I played it, and I with the knowledge that you were in it, and I didn't hear you once, so I'm assuming you're like in a crowd or something.
Oh, I played all the characters. I'm everything. There's not one in there that
all of them. Yeah. Donald Duck, and
I'm glad you enjoyed my performances.
That's fucking Donald and
Donald and Goofy.
Everything. Oh my gosh, that'd be amazing.
So to go back to Jimmy for a bit, one of the big relationships that everyone loved in the first game was Jimmy and the Protoss Phoenix, and they went on a big buddy adventure to beat the UED, and then Kerrigan kills Phoenix, and that inspires the whole "I'm going to kill you someday." And I'm curious what's your perception, because that was a big thing going into 2, why people were like, "Wait, why is Jimmy? I thought Jimmy swore to kill Kerrigan. I thought he killed your best friend."
Yeah, well, things change.
Yeah, but I was curious your perception of that friendship, and it's been that one's been a while. So
it's been. I'm trying to remember who the actor was that played it.
Bill Roper, I think.
Who?
Bill Roper.
Bill Roper.
Okay, we didn't work together on that. It's and I don't want to make something up, but it's just another layer of complexity that they add to the to StarCraft, what makes it so rich. There's so many reasons to. I mean, Jim is a decent guy, and he's a loyal friend. I mean, that's one of the things that motivates him, is that even if if you tick him off, if you're in trouble, he's gonna bail you out or try his best. And if somebody, like with Phoenix, justice needs to be served.
Yeah,
I mean, that's why Jimmy was a marshal. He was looking for justice, and he's not going to let the guilty go unpunished. That's just the way that he is, and it's another reason why the character is so rich, is because that's one of the hardest things to do. So often we feel that an injustice has happened to us, and we just kind of have to take it, just have to suffer the consequences and let the guilty go and go free. And we're the ones that are victimized, and there's no way to get, it's not revenge, but just have justice served.
Yeah.
And so this is another reason why Jimmy is such a great character to play. And it's because things are not that easy in life. You may think, okay, this is what I got to do, and all of a sudden some new information happens, and you go, shit, now I got to totally reevaluate things. Something. He's constantly evolving. He wasn't a one-note character. Jimmy was is a very, and I like to think he's still around. I don't think that he.
I'm about to. That would have been the next question. Like, what's your because the ending's very dreamlike and ambiguous.
Yeah,
I was wondering what your perception was. Happy ending or?
Well, I think it was an absolutely beautiful ending.
I agree.
And I think it was. I was really looking forward to saying that last line, because
Steel Neil's Thunder Hill. It's about
time. And I know we joked about it in the past about that line. I think Neil, obviously knocked it out of the park when you first heard him say it in that trailer. That it was. I like to think that it wasn't just a dream sequence, but that doesn't mean that Jimmy can't come back if needed. He's not. I don't think he's dead. I think he's just with the person that he loves and wanted to be with.
Well, they have been hinting of the son coming back, so there's definitely an in for future Jimmy. I think that would be fascinating to have somebody, Jim Raynor's son would be. I think that Chris and I have even talked about that, not about doing it, but about how he would be something that would be fascinating for him to explore and think about it. I think he said, imagine the son of Raynor. What would he do? What would he be like? What were his experiences? I think that's really an interesting, really fascinating storyline to explore. So I hope that they're able to do something with that, because I don't think the StarCraft story is over. I think it's too awesome. It's too awesome. It's maybe some hesitation might be because, listen, this was essentially perfect. What do we do for an encore? That's the problem.
Can we only disappoint people? But I don't think that we would. I think that the talent over at Blizzard is too high. I know that Chris is back over there. That whatever they would come up with would be something that would be really impactful, and it would be something that would be really special, and something that the fans, I think, would hugely enjoy. I mean, we came back 14 years after, 11 years after the first one, and the last one we did was 2014, 2015, something like that.
It came out 2016, but obviously you voice acted before that.
Okay. So, listen, 2026, another 10, 11 years before another one comes out. That's okay. That's cool.
We can dream.
I'll go with that. And I know that Blizzard does respond to the fans. They do listen to that. They take their fan base very seriously. So it would be interesting to revisit Jimmy, and my goodness, if his son comes back, what an amazing reuniting that would be. Even if Jimmy is just a voice in his head, whatever it is, it would be that would be quite special. Quite special. I would say, in all humbleness, that this kid better be pretty good, because kind of set the bar a little bit high here. So
they're hinting he's a psychic little kid named Stone, but he's quoting we are who we choose to be, and I'm like, oh, we know what this means.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, we choose to be. Oh my.
So I also want to ask about. So you also did the Heroes of the Storm game, which is it's the MOBA.
Yeah.
And I'm curious how different that was doing Jimmy in a game where, Jimmy's more abstract in StarCraft 2. He's more a character on the side. But this one, you're more directly playing as Jimmy. You have to do all the grunts of being hit.
Yeah.
I'm curious how different that was.
Well, it was, it's you're just basically focusing on different characters within the StarCraft universe. I mean, Jimmy is still a part of it. The first one was obviously heavy on Jim's story, and even with all the other ones, he's got to be involved in somehow, because you need to keep the story moving forward. And for the last game, of course, when you need to have that final resolution to how it all plays out. That's important. You always want to be in more, as an actor. Like, it's like the old joke. It's like you get the script, and the actor looks through the script and goes, oh, let's say bullshit, my line, bullshit, my line, bullshit, my line. Yeah.
And I want to skip that. I think might be good, because you're someone who's been around the acting scene for a very long time.
Yeah.
I'm curious what specific roles or actors you pulled from for Jimmy, in terms of other actors that came before you.
I don't know. It might be. I don't know if it's anybody specifically, but I know that they're. I was always been a fan of Westerns, and this StarCraft is basically. I think even Chris had mentioned this is a Western in space. It's a
space Western, yeah.
It's a space Western, yeah, and so you needed that. Maybe it was something that I just absorbed from watching all those movies and shows. I used to love the Lone Ranger as a kid, and Gary Cooper in High Noon, and John Wayne in it was not Red River. I'm drawing a blank now, but there's so many Western stars. Even Kevin Costner in Silverado. You start thinking about all these Western stars and how they were, or God, one of my favorites, Shane, where you're just this. They're kind of quiet. There's this intensity about them. Clint Eastwood. you just think about all the. They're stoic. They're able to overcome incredible adversity. They're appreciative of the little things, because they don't have much, and they have to work really hard for what it is they do have. And there's courage, and there's this us against them, or defending those that can't defend themselves. So there's justice there. So you add all that together with your own personal experiences, and you start making it as personal as you can, so that you identify with it as truthful as you possibly can. So you're coming from that honest place. That's why when I asked Andrea, keep me honest. I don't want to phone in a performance. If it sounds like I'm just saying the lines, if it doesn't sound like it's coming from that honest place, because you get tired. You do lines, and sometimes you're just not there. Even though the session is 4 hours, seems, well, that's not that long. Well, it's challenging when you're trying to sustain that level of intensity, and it's not just a physical intensity. It's just this focus, but at the same time, you have to be completely vulnerable and open, if that makes any sense.
I've done amateur voice work at 2 hours. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, you have to be emotionally, I want to say emotionally available. You have to be emotionally connected. You have to be able to access all this stuff. And it's like being in a therapy session for 4 hours where they're just, where you just have to come up with all this incredibly personal stuff, not just telling stories, but re-experiencing everything.
Yep.
So it can be, and that's why it's they keep the sessions a little bit shorter, because it's hard to, the 8th hour to pull that emotion out.
You can't stay on for the entire day.
So it's when you ask about what, I don't think there was any one character or one person or one role, because I'm not doing an impression of somebody.
Yeah, but the Western genre in general. Yeah, I mean, that's a good answer. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess going off the good, honest, like Jim's the last honest man of the universe, one of his big relationships that's always kind of is between him and Mengsk, him joining a revolution for a better tomorrow, only to basically have him be a party to genocide and be abused, basically, and lose the love of his life in the process, of course. But I'm curious how you view that dynamic, especially with James Harper, who's masterful in his role.
Oh yeah, we rue the day that in every actor on StarCraft that they gave him the name of Mengsk.
Yeah, I could.
It's not easy to friggin' say. It's easy to mispronounce it because it's Mengsk.
Mengsk. Yeah.
So, but I've become good friends with James Harper, Jimmy, and he looks like Mengsk.
Oh, he does. Yes.
Oh my goodness! When I first saw him on stage, and they put the picture of Mengsk behind him, I thought, I think Jimmy came out with wearing sunglasses or something. He's a very funny guy. He's actually again incredibly gifted actor. The man was I think he said he was in class 2 at the oh goodness, not Rada. Oh my, I'm drawing a blank. Oh goodness, the big. Oh goodness!
Big acting school kind of.
Yeah, but it's not just acting school. It's all music. It's New York. Oh, whatever. It'll come to me.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah.
And so the guy's got phenomenal Juilliard. There he is.
Juilliard. Wow!
Yeah,
really?
Yeah, he went to Juilliard. He went to Juilliard, and so he's played, done Shakespeare, the classics. I mean, you name it, James has done it. So he brings that level of expertise, talent, that richness of character, that theatricality that was so critically important for Mengsk.
He's got that Shakespeare gravitas.
Oh yeah. So it's it was really fun to play with him. We still talk when we talk on the phone. If he answers the phone, he knows it's me. He goes, "Little Jimmy Raynor." And I'll go. And what do I say to him? I'll call him Emperor. Hello.
Oh, that's cool though. So you actually still, I mean, know you're friends with Neil, and are there any other voice actors from the set?
Yeah, like I'm trying to Just
all good.
no, I'm just thinking Dave Fennoy. Just
Oh yeah,
I like Dave Fennoy. I've been on his.
He
has a podcast. I've been in his thing. Dave is an incredibly gifted, talented actor as well.
He's a sweet guy. Yeah.
Every once in a while, I'll run into to Josh Keaton, who played Valerian.
Yep.
Haven't run into to Trish since or Glynis since we worked on it. Actually, no. Trish and I were at a BlizzCon a few years ago where they kind of celebrated their relationship in a panel, which was really kind of nice to just have a conversation with Andrea Toyas, who is the voice director par excellence at Blizzard, and she did a little interview with us on stage at BlizzCon, which was really, really nice. At the end, everybody kind of had I think they had their, I want to say lighters, but they didn't have lighters. They had their the cameras on their cell phones, or at least a flashlight up, and they were doing like this kind of a thing.
I do remember this, and I saw it online.
That's cool.
It was very sweet, very, very sweet.
Yeah. I have a random question, but have you ever played StarCraft? Have you ever actually sat down and played it?
I have played, and when I'm asked that question, people say, "Well, do you play online?" I go, "Can you imagine if I said, yeah, and my handle is Jim Raynor," and then everybody wanting to play me and kick my ass? I said, imagine having the saying you kicked Jim Raynor's ass in StarCraft. No, I'm not going to do that.
You're in the right company.
I was also a little bit impatient. It goes back to that story of bullshit, my line, bullshit, my line. Well, they sent me the first version of StarCraft, and they gave me all the cheat codes, so I could just like burn through it because it was a challenging freaking game. So I could get to the next cutscene.
The next one with you,
that was
awesome.
that was with me. So I was able to watch that. But yeah, of course, I've played it.
And I've been played it. You just played it with sheets.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. But listen, I won.
Exactly. When I was like 8 or 9 when it came out, I also was like, "This level's hard." Power.
Literally same. I grew up. I almost never played it without cheats. So
it's a challenging game. I mean, it's not a game. It's not just a first-person shooter. It's not. You can't be. Nothing against first-person shooters. I've done a lot of those games, but you can't be an idiot to play StarCraft and play it well. You've got to be thinking. It's like a chess game. No two games are the same. When I've been to professional competitions, and oh my God, the way these people play, if I were to play, StarCraft, would maybe 3 hours for me to get through something, right? These guys get through it in 15, 20 minutes.
Yep.
It's like, and they can see, they go, okay, I know it's over because he's done this, that, and the other thing. So I'm toast. So I might as well just give up. I'm knocking over the king at this point. So it's over.
Yeah, I was going to ask how, because you've been to a lot of the esports events, and there's in the community, there's kind of divide. Like there's us, which is like the lore side, which is, we love campaigns. It's a game. It's a bunch of books with a game attached. But how is that with the esports side, where there's a lot of people who know the campaigns but are kind of more like, I'm here for the professional side?
Well, it's interesting because when I've talked to fans, what they enjoy about the game, well, number one, they says they love the gameplay. 2, they love the story that's associated with it, and 3, they like the community, the friends that they've met. And so when you go to these competitions, first of all, you can't deny the energy that's there with the thunder sticks, and it's just off the charts exciting. And you have the casters that are there that are describing what the heck's going on, and they're just adding to the intensity and the excitement. I've become friends. I haven't spoken to them in a while, but with a few of the casters, and what they add to it. And it's funny that they're all wearing like jackets and ties.
Yes, they're all.
I think that's really kind of cool. That's kind of what they've adopted, and it just adds to the the whole experience. They're the only ones, but they're, it kind of gives it a little bit more credibility.
Makes it feel like ESPN, yeah.
Yeah, and it's freaking exciting. And so I have no problem when I go there. It's not like people go, get out of here, buddy. We're only interested in the gameplay. No, they're happy to see me there. So it's I think I've gone to a couple where I've handed out the trophy or something. So it's fun. Last one I went to was several years ago. It was some competition in Vegas, and there were a lot of players from outside the U.S. and there were these players from I want to say the Philippines, but they met me and they wanted me to say, hey man. They said, yeah, man. He said, because when they walk through the streets, when they all encounter one another, that's what they say. So they got on the phone with their buddies back in, Manila or wherever it might have been, and had me say that to them over the phone. It was a lot of fun. So it's what's great about StarCraft is it's still relevant. It's still evolving. People are still discovering. People are still into it. I know it's not as huge as it used to be. I mean, nothing's going to be as huge as it was. For a while, it was the national sport of Korea, and you have 100,000 people show up in the stadium to watch two guys play it. But it's still it's one of those timeless games because it's never the same. It's never the same. You can always do new stuff, and the story. If you watch the cut scenes, it's kind of like a little bit of a break from it. Kind of go, okay, now I can kind of relax a little bit, change the pace, and watch a story that's really, really good. Really good. It's the
perfect mix of everything. It's a challenge. That's nice cutscene at the end.
That's why you can watch it over and over and over again. It's like, how many times is there a movie that you've seen 10, 15 times? Like, for example, for me, talk about Westerns, I love Tombstone.
Tombstone's great.
I can watch Tombstone. It doesn't matter if it's the 100th time I've seen it. I'm still into it because the characters are so good. The story is so great. Val Kilmer as Doc Holliday is so friggin' good. Kurt Russell. It's Sam Elliott. It's so good. So it always delivers. It's like you'd think that I know it's the same performance because it's on camera,
but you always catch new little things.
You always catch a little something new. It even had oh my goodness, Charlton Heston was in it. I actually got to work with Charlton Heston on a TV show.
Wow. Okay.
I worked with Peter Sellers in a commercial when I was a kid. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
And the one I caught you recently was you were Charlie in Charlie's Angels.
Oh yeah, and I've actually, it's interesting. I've been the voice of Charlie in a couple of iterations of that. There was a series that they did where they had me come in and I did all the trailers for it. Because I came that close to being it in the series, but then they went with a Broadway started doing the show, ended up dying. But then they brought me in to do a little something on the newer movie Elizabeth Banks did, and when I recorded it, this goes back to what we were talking about before. She realized, oh my God, you sound exactly like John Forsythe. Let's expand this. So they started adding more stuff to it. So I kept going back and doing more stuff, and it was more of the character was in the movie more than originally planned because they thought, what can we do?
It's always good when your performance is so good. They're like, let's make the character bigger.
Unfortunately, the movie did not do as well as they had hoped. So I don't think there's going to be any others, but still. To be mentioned with John Forsythe, who was wonderful, and what a thrill! I mean, come on! I mean, I grew up watching Charlie's Angels. I remember doing an episode when you talked about MASH. I was doing an episode of MASH at the lot on at 20th Century Fox, and if you're on MASH, you're basically a soldier that's in the hospital. So this particular episode, the premise was that the soldiers were coming down with some weird allergy, that was causing all these like open sores over your body. And so you go down there and they put you in wardrobe, and wardrobe is of course a pair of pajamas and a thin bathrobe, right? Because you're a soldier in a MASH unit. And then they start putting like all these open sores all over your face, and it's like oozing. It's kind of disgusting. And since you're on the lot, they don't bring in lunch to you. If you're on location, they bring in lunch. So it's like, okay, it's time for lunch, so you got to go to the commissary. So you can't get out of your outfit, so you walk in with a pair of slippers, a thin bathrobe, and these pajamas on with open sores all over your face, and you go to the commissary. And what else was shooting on the lot that day was a Charlie's Angels beauty pageant scene. So I'm staying in line with all these women in like bathing suits, miss this, that, or the other thing with a crown, and I'm looking like I crawled
you have leprosy.
Like I got leprosy. Needless to say, didn't get any phone numbers that day. Did not even come close.
Oh man, I have a little. Let's go back to Jimmy for a minute. There's a cut scene in the Heart of the Swarm that I wanted to touch up on, where for a little bit Jim and Kerrigan go through this little breakup, and I want to know your thought process or how you. What's your opinion on that?
The emotion you put into that scene it's because it's a conflicting one too. Like it's a part one you love, but you think she's gone back.
If it's the one I'm thinking about it, where it's like, is that where he says like, "What have you done?" Is that
what have you done?
Yeah.
Yep.
What have you done? She's back to being the Queen of Blades, or at least she has the appearance of the Queen of Blades.
Well, it's one of those. It's a transition scene in the story. This is where she sacrifices to save him, as I recall. Isn't that what's happening, right?
Yeah, she does it.
So she makes this sacrifice, and he. That's the last thing he wanted her to do, because she turned into his something he has to kill.
The thing he hated the most. Yeah,
the things he hated the most. So you think about the complexity of that, what that means, where you think the person that you care the most about, that you love the most, the person you've dedicated your life to and want to spend the rest of your life to, turns into something so horrible that now you have to do a 180, essentially. You have to dedicate your life now to destroying them. It's like a betrayal. It's, even though she's telling him why, he doesn't want to hear it, because he's also a man that has duty. He looks at the bigger picture. It's a blow to the gut. It's his worst nightmare that is suddenly he has to face, and it's again making those choices. And I think that it sends the story into an unexpected direction for the people that are watching it, wondering what's going to happen now. How is he going to handle this? Is he really going to do this? Is he really going to kill the person that he loves, in essence, to save her?
Yeah.
It's wow. Talk about upping the stakes.
Yeah, man.
But when you think about that, as an actor, you read that and you think, well, first thing you go is, this is a juicy scene.
Mm-hmm.
There is so much meat on this bone. Wow. But also you think, I can't just chew up the scenery on this. I've got to be honest. This is challenging because you've got all this conflict, all this stuff that's happening. It's easy to play it one dimensional. AI would just go, okay, be angry at a level 9 on this one.
Like you said with Harrison Ford, it's all in one. You shrink it to a look and a line. What have you done?
Yeah, and sometimes what they would do is depending on where they were in the animating process, they might be able to show you the scene, what's kind of going on, so you see how they're, this is going to be a close up. This is it. So you go, okay. So you kind of get to work with that a little bit, but still you're the actor is the one that's kind of has to drive the scene forward. And I'm trying to think of whether Trish and I did that together. I don't think we did, which makes it adds another level of complexity to it, because now you've got to really be able to put yourself in that place that it's you have to imagine as if
it's not a person.
It's not there. So you've got all this stuff that's happening, and also you have to be, the lines are very simple. Jim is a very simple person in that he doesn't bullshit a lot. He cuts to the chase. You know how he's feeling. And you know that in that scene, the challenge that he's going through, how heartbreaking it is to him, but yet he cannot show that. But at the same time, the audience needs to see it. There was, I don't know if you know the director Billy Wilder that did Something Like It Hot, Sunset Boulevard. He talked about subtlety in film, and he says you have to make it obvious. Which sounds like something like Yogi Berra would say, but it's true, because if it's so subtle that nobody notices it, then why do it?
Why? Yeah,
you have to be able to see it, know it, but at the same time know that it's not too big. It's complex. That's where it really comes in handy to have a really, really good director like Andrea Toys that's going to say, let's do this again. And they help you, but they put you in that emotional place. They'll say, okay, this is where you're at. This is what's happening. This is what you're thinking. This is blah, blah, blah. And this, that. And then it allows you to kind of get into that thing where you're thinking about all this stuff. And then you can say it. For example, there's a scene where I'm trying to remember what was happening in the scene with Trish and I. And it might have been the scene where I say, I got you. We're during this, and there is video of this. I've seen it. I also experienced it. And I was about to say a line, and Trish came over to me while we were recording and kissed me. And
oh my God,
it was just. It was, and it just put me in that place, and I, then I had to say the line, but it was magical, and people that were there that were watching, they said, "Oh my fucking God, did that just happen?"
Sexual assault.
Yeah, and it was. It just made the experience so much richer. So when you ask about how these things, what's happening in your head when those scenes are happening, all this stuff is happening, all of it, and through that you have to be able to work through the chaos, the clutter, all the stuff to find that it's like find that lifeline that leads you through that honest lifeline, that through line that takes you through that scene. So. First of all, you understand the impact, like Harrison Ford said, when he gets a part, he looks at it, he says, how do I serve the story? That's the most important thing. So as an actor, you look at it and go, how do I serve the story? The story is paramount. That's number one. It's not me. It's how does my character serve the story? And for that, it's like, okay, I need to be able to do this because the story dictates that it's going in this direction. If I don't do this, the story can't go in that direction. or it's going to go in that direction and it's not going to make sense, or it's going to feel false, or it's not going to be honest. So that's the kind of stuff that you have to think about, and that's the kind of stuff you have to do. So and all of this is happening really fucking fast. It's not like, okay, think about this and come back 2 weeks from now and work on it. It's like, no, this is what's happening. Are you ready to go?
Yep.
You know, if you need to talk, let's take or sometimes they'll take a little bit of a break. They'll talk about it and say, you know what, let's take 5 minutes here. Just so that we can all kind of switch gears, get into this, and now we'll do that. I mean, that's one of the wonderful things about Blizzard and good directors is they understand how to prepare the actor, set the actor up for that, especially a scene that's as emotionally demanding as that. Because, you know, again, how many times are you going to be able to do that? If the scene 10 times in a row, and then you have to, you know, it's not like it's 20 times and you're still going to find something there. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Generally, it's going to happen in those first few takes. Because you're going to go, okay, I got it. Let me do it one more time, please. You know, whatever. They'll say, do it again. Or that was fantastic. That was beautiful. Whatever. So it's all that's happening very, very quickly, and hopefully, and I think it did in this game. It came off fantastic. It came off great. I wouldn't have wanted to change anything about that scene. I thought it was beautiful.
Definitely, yeah. Oh wow, yeah, and that's good context. And we're running a little against time. Mark, did you have a last question you wanted to?
How much longer do you have?
How much what?
How much longer do you have,
we should quit at the top of the hour. So
I think we
right, that's what I thought. Okay, we'll tackle like 2 more questions or whatever. We'll try shotgun this. So
I'll try to give you yes and no answers.
Yes, no, yeah.
Yes and no answer. Okay. In Legacy of the Void, Phoenix's consciousness is some bullshit reason is back in the form of another character named Telendar. Did you know about this, and did Jim know about this? What would Jim do if he saw that Phoenix is back as an AI?
That's kind of a no answer, because I'm not really I'd have to be kind of up to date on the lore and the experience, and then I could address it a little bit better. Right now, off the top of my head, I'm a little bit at a loss. I'm sure at the time I was aware, especially if it's something that Jimmy has to react to. They're going to say, "Hey, this is what's happening."
Yeah, the two never interact, so there's kind of one of those bullshit my line.
Okay. Yeah, whatever he's doing, who cares? You know, I got a universe to save.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you remember the scene where Dr. Ariel Hansen in Wings of Liberty was leaving, and she offers to have him leave with him?
Yes.
What was Jim's thoughts on that? That's not my last question. It's the second to last question. Was he tempted or?
Yeah. But again, this gets to where the honor of Jim. He's not going to take advantage of her. And he understood that being in a relationship with him is probably not in her best interests. So it was a wonderful scene, because she ends up being, doesn't she end up like attacked by this swarm and turns into a
in one of the endings, it's a split choice.
It was. Yeah, he of course was tempted. I mean, she's beautiful, she's sweet, she's nice, she cares about him. She's a good person, and Jimmy became friends with her. That's why, you know, one of the versions where she doesn't make it, it's more motivation for him. But yeah, he was definitely tempted, and but he was not going to. He knew it wasn't right to demand that from her, expect that from her. So he was going. He in that regard, he's the guy's a gentleman at the same time, and not to say that he's hasn't had affairs and come on, but at the same time he's he's heroic, but he's a human hero. He's not a superhero. It was definitely hard for him to walk away. I'll put it to you that way.
Okay, interesting. I like that.
Yeah.
Because that's one last thing is like that's when you brought up the fact that Trisha, the voice of Kerrigan, kissed you randomly. Like that reminded me that Subsourian, if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Ariel kissed Raynor.
Yeah, on the quick peck on the cheek before leaving, and then he kind of admires her on the way out. I ain't that good.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I ain't
that didn't happen in the studio. I wish. No.
I wish.
All right, and we're kind of close. So,
last question. What is your favorite race in StarCraft?
You really have to ask.
Yes.
Well, let's see. Would it be Zerg?
Hey, that's where your love is.
Yeah, no, it was. That's where she was. No, yeah, actually, she was again. Yeah, no, Zerg. I joke. I say, like throwing a little Zergling on the barbecue, and not Protoss. Definitely not. No. He's gonna stay human. Absolutely.
Yep. Awesome. Terran, it is.
Well, Robert, it's
Terran it is, and it's funny when people say they play. I ask them what they play when they say Protoss. I say, oh, I'm so sorry. No, when they say Zerg, I'm so sorry. Protoss, I can. It's okay. I can live with that. But Terran's it.
Mm-hmm.
I stay with my own species, and when it comes to
to
StarCraft,
no, it makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been a dream come true for me, certainly, because having listened to your voice for like 25 years, I appreciate this.
Well, in parting, let me bring the mic close and I'll say, some things are just worth fighting for.